Men complaining about women. I hear a lot of men complaining about women, and I've done that myself, about the modern woman, about how she runs the show, about how she's acting like a man. Well, why don't we stop and ask ourselves, why is she acting like a man? Why is she taking on this masculine role? It could be because men have gotten less and less masculine through the years. Men in our society in the West here are becoming more feminine. So the woman doesn't feel safe with feminine men, so she has to take on a masculine role. Back in the 60s, we had the women's liberation movement. The government had found out after World War II that they could get double the taxation if you had women out working in the field. And through the years since then, it's become common practice to put your children in daycare. So who's raising our kids? The mothers? No. But I'll bet you could ask out of 100 mothers if they think that someone else could do a better job of raising their kids than they could. And you might get one or two that say, yes, someone else could raise my children better than me. And yet they go to work and put their kids in daycare with a minimum wage daycare worker, and then go off to work and allow someone else to imprint their children with their ideas, their morals, if they have morals, and their way of living. All using the justification of it takes two incomes. I hear many people complain, God, you can't even buy a house. Back in the 80s or 90s, you could buy a house for this or for that. Well, when I grew up, almost everybody had two-bedroom houses, one-bedroom houses. My brother and I shared a room, except for the doctors and lawyers. And their houses were somewhat larger, but nothing compared to the houses people are building today and the kind of houses people want to live in. I hear people saying they can't make it on $150,000 a year. I don't know where they're living at, but you could do quite well here on that amount of money. But we didn't go out to restaurants every day. We didn't have all this fast food. We didn't have nail salons, massage parlors, and all these luxuries that people take for granted. They don't know how to conserve or how to be frugal. God forbid if a mother stayed home and took care of her kids. My two sons have children, and their mothers stay home and take care of the children. And my sons support the wife. Now, if they can do it, then I'm sure that many others in the U.S. can do it. If they didn't want to have the two Escalades in the driveway and a 3,000 or 4,000 square foot house, the boat at the lake, the jet skis and the storage lockers, etc., etc. But people become accustomed to this. And they think that, oh, the U.S. is terrible, you can't even make it here. Well, you can't make it if you're living like that. But if you try to conserve a little bit when you're young, then you get to where you can have those things and not sacrificing the welfare of your children to get them, or the welfare of your relationship. I was talking to an elderly woman the other day. She was about, I think she was in her 80s. And she was saying this. She said this, I didn't. I may believe the same thing, but that she didn't think women should be out there working. They should be taking care of their husbands and their kids. But why don't they do that anymore? Because they're belittled for doing it. These two young women that I'm talking about that have my son's children, they stay home and take care of the kids, and people are always pushing them to go to work. Their family, their friends, aren't you going to go to work? Taking care of children is a 24-hour day, 7-day-a-week job, no sick days, no paid leave, no days off, no, what is that, PTO? Is that what it's called? Yeah, something like that, where you get a day off here and there. You don't get that. And you certainly don't get the praise and admiration that it deserves. It's much easier to go to work if you can stomach the guilt of dropping your crying child off every day and knowing he's sitting there all day waiting for you to pick him up because you're out there chasing that dollar because you don't have a man that can support the two of you. So who's responsible? Let's say, whose fault is that? It's the men. If you're going to take on a woman and have children, you need to be able to support them so she can stay home and do the most important job in society, and that's raise your children, your sons and your daughters. So don't be blaming the women because they're taking on masculine roles. We've put them there. We've voted people in, we've allowed bills to pass that put women in that position. Now, I'm not talking about women that their man run off and they have to work to support themselves and their kid. I'm talking about the married men and women, where both of them are working and they have all this extravagance and they don't even know their children. I was fortunate enough to have my own business, which you could too if you wanted to, and I had to raise my children by myself for 12 years, 6 of them, as some of you know. And I was able to spend a lot of time with them because I had to take them with me sometimes. It was very difficult. For a while, my mother was living and she was able to help me some, but she passed away 7 or 8 years ago. And I could never leave them all there with her. I don't think I ever did. Maybe once or twice, because they were just too much for her to handle at her age. She was close to 80. So, I mean, at least set yourself up, if you're going to get married or have a woman, to where you can take care of her. And if you want to have children, where she can stay home and raise your child and imprint the morals and values upon your child and children that you want, instead of some you don't want. How many people are allowing the government to raise their kids in schools? But I have heard that more and more people are homeschooling now, which I think is great. And then the kids don't have to have all those, what do they call them? Jabs. I did not realize how many jabs the kids had to have till after this last scamdemic thing we had. And I kind of regret, I trusted the system. Well, I don't anymore. But if I have any more kids, yes, and I may have another kid or two, I will not put all them vaccines in them, because I think I had 5 and I've been done quite well. And now they say kids, by the time they're out of public school, they have at least 50. They don't force you to have them, but unless you can homeschool or private school, they got to have it. And some of the private schools force you to have those vaccines too. So that's a whole nother video, but thanks for joining me today. And let's take a look at ourselves, men, and quit blaming women for the masculinity they are, how do I say, they are expressing today. Because only you can change yourself, and when you change yourself, the world miraculously changes before you. Take care, hit that like button, subscribe, have a great day.